everyone, my name is Ranya Elkatib, and today I will be sharing a challenge that I've encountered in my life. It all started in Florida. As you can see, even my computer paper is Disney. Anyways, Florida was where my family and I lived happily. Things were going great. My mom and dad had a great job, my siblings and I were always occupied with school and activities. There is nothing like enjoying the Florida weather. Days passed by when my mother received a phone call. Her sister had called her from Michigan and informed her that their mother is extremely ill and needs critical care. My mother then sits my family down and informs us that our grandma is sick and that she needs to go visit her. We were all extremely empathetic for her and wished that everything will get better. So, my mom decided to take the fastest flight to see my grandma at the hospital in Michigan. Meanwhile, my grandmother was only getting worse and her last seconds was near. My grandma was in terrible pain and could barely breathe. Fortunately, her suffering came to an end and my precious grandmother had passed. After much mourning and attending the burial, it was time my mother came home to inform us of the tragic news. The news was shocking and unbearable. Weeks after dealing with this news, my mother spoke to our father on things that were on her mind. She came to the realization that she wants to be now closer to home where her side of the family lives, which is in Michigan. My father was extremely shocked and didn't really know how to respond since it was random and so sudden. Since he knew this was a very tragic time, he couldn't possibly want to make it worse and reject her request. He went through with it, and what do you know? We were all off to Michigan. Trying to settle in was the hardest part, but once we got through with it, we became stable. Although my father had the hardest time and we noticed he complained the most, saying that he couldn't find a job and that he hates the environment here. It started to get out of hand and my parents would start to bicker constantly. We would be sleeping or away from them when they would, so we wouldn't hear. But really, we did hear them, just would never say anything. We just didn't understand why. He wouldn't accept the change no matter how many years gone by, and my mom became fed up. He decided that this lifestyle wasn't for him and that he was better off in Florida. But of course, he couldn't fly back so soon. So in the meantime, he decided to get a place temporarily until he knew it was the right time to go, especially since this was new to us. When my parents informed us about what was happening, we were extremely saddened. We didn't understand why. We didn't understand where this was coming from until that day. We just weren't expecting it. In the moment, we couldn't help but be upset during this time. So the siblings and I decided to have a meeting and try to solve what we could do from this point on to get over the struggle. My brother took it the hardest and was being very negative. My sister thought the situation was terrible and was mad at my parents. And then I thought I should turn this negativity around and be positive by saying it will work out and that we should do a compromise with them. I thought it was a good idea. If we should stay at our parents' house for a week so we wouldn't lose that bond. And that's exactly what happened. It took some time to get used to, and we managed, but made it work. Although we are not living together under one roof, the love is still there equally for one another, and that is all that matters. I learned from our OB class that communication is key and must be used in order to solve situations. If I had a chance to do things differently, honestly, it would be to have communicated with my parents better on times when they were fighting and to ask what is going on rather than keeping everything bottled up and finding out the harder way, such as this. It's also important to take part in leadership when you see things fall apart in your group, which is exactly what I did, and I'm pleased with what the outcome was. This seems to be all I have to share, so I hope you all enjoyed the presentation, and thank you for listening.